So ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Max Kradia. I work for the Joint Research Centre of the European Commission, and it is my privilege to be your friendly chair for this fascinating afternoon session of EuroGEO. So without further ado, I think we can start having a look at the program. So as you can see, we will start in earnest with Jean and Thierry. So let me, and I'll say this only once, of course, but please to all the speakers, keep to the time. If not, I'm sure that there are ways to make sure that, that your microphone is muted. So let me first start with two excellent colleagues. Jean Duzat is the head of sector of the European Commission. Since 2019, he joins the EO sector as Director General Research and Innovation, and he leads the EuroGEO initiative, the European contribution to the Group on Earth Observation. Before that, Jean was for 15 years a colleague here in the Joint Research Centre, working on many, many different projects, and we miss him dearly. But it's always nice to have him working now for research and innovation. Now, Professor Thierry Rangel is currently the director of the Centre Innovation Impact Energy at Mines Paris-Tech, ESL University since 2013. And this research centre is dedicated to the exploitation of Earth observation from evaluation of the renewable energy resources and assessment of environmental impacts of energy users yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So please, Jean and Thierry, take it away on your excellent presentation. Jean, is it you who starts?
No, it's Thierry that will start.
That will be me, yes. Voilà. Thanks a lot, Max, for this presentation. So it's a great pleasure to welcome you on this last session of EuroGEO workshop 2021. We are going to talk all the afternoon about the evolution. And so before starting with evolution, we can have a look on the state of the play and what we have in mind for the future. I will do the first part of the presentation, and then Jean will take the lead for the rest of the discussion. So just to remind you some element about EuroGEO. So EuroGEO, it's really the European contribution to GEO and GEOSS. And the idea is really to integrate as much as we can our contribution within GEO and GEOSS, and to increase the benefit of GEO and GEOSS for Europe. So in a nutshell, we are also acting as an incubator to produce new EO service, and you will see in the follow-up that many of them are available through the different projects we have. You had some presentation on Tuesday showing all the, I think you had 27 presentations showing some of the good results and application available from the different work achieved in EuroGEO. The idea is also to deliver EO application using all the available data coming from Copernicus, European countries and organizations, but also of all global data sets that are available. The idea is really to put all this effort in GEO. We have as an objective also in EuroGEO to promote scaling up and develop the EO application with and for the users. So that's really in collaboration with co-design approach and really trying to put the focus on the user and not anymore only on the data. We need both, of course, but we need really to take care about the users in what we are doing. And the idea is really to build on the different resources and assets coming from the different European and national program. And of course, with the main focus on the GEOSS, on Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe resources in order to support the implementation of the Green Deal. So that's really the idea of serving GEO with all the tools, all the advantage and all the good things that we are able to develop in Europe in order to support all the full geo concept, trying really to have decision making lightning by Earth observation application and services. So when we translate this in terms of action, EuroGEO is really focusing on cooperate, coordinate, and combine. That's the keyword we have in the EuroGEO regional initiative, mobilizing research and innovation grants. And the idea is to use the landscape we had in H 2020 and Horizon Europe, but also on the national contribution and how we can manage all of these things, and to increase really the collaboration with Copernicus. As all of you know, Copernicus is one of the lightning program in Europe for space and for Earth observation, and it's really focusing on also the users, and that's clearly in line with EuroGEO. So that's a clear collaboration and a clear contribution from Europe to GEO, and also to try to mobilize the stakeholders through action groups in order to develop pre-operational services and go further. We have a series of projects that are going also beyond the pre-operational services in order to develop an ambitious work program within GEO and really to make it appearing, and that European contribution will be really clear and crystal and well recognized by the community. And so we have also in our ambition to liaising with the other regional GEO, and that will be part of the follow-up of this session on leveraging the work of the engagement team. So this slide came from the midterm evaluation of GEO. You will see that it's talking mainly about the role of the regional GEO, which is really on integration within the work program and in the GEO structure, and the possibility to have really a role to play in all the area around GEO. And so you have a series of recommendations, and clearly EuroGEO is working in this direction, trying to communicate, coordinate, and even more combine, to work on the capacity development, to exchange the best practice and the upscaling of the different products, and also to involve the commercial sector and private sector within the framework. And you have all the contributions that are here, and clearly EuroGEO is in the good road to have a very good contribution on this regional GEO, and hopefully we will continue to do so in the coming years. Here it's a slide showing the latest development we had in the framework of EuroGEO. Of course, it's not all the contribution, but it's clearly defined some links in application, observation, citizen observatory, polar science, and also in a series of activity represented by ECUP, EraPlanet, NextGeos, FIRE, and eShape on methodology and really innovation and showcasing the innovation built within the different project. Thanks to Isabella Freitag for this slide, which is really in a way of showing all the support given by EuroGEO to and by the different H2020 and Horizon Europe program to GEO. And of course, you had a series of presentations that shows in the last 3 days these different elements. For your interest, if you want to know more about the different projects, you can go to the Cordus Result Pact on environmental observation, and you will find most of the elements coming from the different projects that have been set up in the framework of EuroGEO. And last but not least, the 2 projects that were presented yesterday, Harmonia and Ethel. I will not come back to these 2 but at least you have their name and you can search for them. And today we have, I think it's the kickoff meeting of Harmonia. If I'm no, not this one, sorry. These 2 were launched in July. and it's Arctic Patient which has its kickoff today. And so that's also the follow-up of what we are doing. Hopefully it will be a great support for all the GEO activity and the EuroGEO initiative. So I think now it's time to give the floor to Jean. I can stop sharing and give you the floor. Jean.
Thank you, Thierry. I hope you can see the slides.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So time has come as well we know what we have achieved and what we continue to achieve with EuroGEO. But if we want EuroGEO to evolve, we have, of course, to take into account the dynamic and complex environment we are operating in. And this environment has several drivers that will certainly influence the way we want to bring forward our EuroGEO initiative. The first one is, of course, because at the end, this is as well, unfortunately, about the money, is the development of the Horizon Europe program. We just adopted the first work program covering 2021-2022 in June before the summer. We just kickstarted the work to develop the next work program covering 23-24, and we are as well initiating the work on preparing partnership on agriculture of data, and all those will take place in 23 and 24, but we have, of course, to start the work already now to get it approved on time. On the GEOSS side, we are as well anticipating important change coming. We are at the end of the second year of the current work program covering 2020-2022. But the process, and that will be my next slide, to start the drafting of the next GEO work program is about to start, and it will cover the next 3 years, 23 to 25. In parallel, we are aware that the tools we use have to be adapted as well to adjust to the new priorities, to the user needs, to the requirements expressed by the community. And so there is an ongoing exercise started by the GEO community to think about what could be the next, let's call it GEOSS 2.0, the next GEOSS infrastructure we need to address the needs of our community. And you will see that will be a phase development and deployment to have something on time addressing most of the user needs by the end of the 10 years implementation plan of GEO. In parallel, EuroGEO has to move as well. We have our current EuroGEO implementation plan that was drafted already 2.5 years ago, but still we are very keen in making sure that it's fully implemented. We have to start drafting the next implementation plan to be able to implement it during the period 23-25. Then will come, and this is a discussion I would like to kickstart today. We have to think how we can ensure the long-term sustainability of the EuroGEO initiative, how we can get a better uptake by the GEO community in Europe. Do we need as well to have an infrastructure that responds to the specific needs of Europe? This is as well an ongoing debate, and later this afternoon, Max will present the EuroGEOSS concept and how this could be developed in the future. Let's see if I can get to the next slide. So this is the timeline for the revision of the EuroGEO implementation plan, sorry. And I will not go into the details, but just look in the middle of the table. Early February 2022 is the deadline for the submission of the implementation plan. Clearly, this is not something I want or the Commission service want to draft in isolation. So we will have to embark and get the community to help us and to be engaged in this exercise. So the topics we will discuss this afternoon, and that's my last 2 slides, Max, will be about anchoring EuroGEO and its priorities within the GEO work program and its priorities. So the engagement priorities we all know, but some that are maybe not well addressed yet by GEO, like biodiversity. How can we take advantage and better articulate with the initiative of the European-driven initiative of the Knowledge Center on Earth Observation that Mark will present in a minute. We want to open the debate on considering the development of an EuroGEOS digital ecosystem, and we will clarify later what that is not a spelling mistake, why we call it EuroGEOS. Still, we are very keen to keep helping streamlining the deployment of commercial Earth observation derived product, and maybe explore as well new tools and not the usual grants we've been using in the last years. I mentioned the consideration for the long-term sustainability of EuroGEO. We are aware that the action groups can play a more active role, and we are open to any suggestion to gear and to enhance their action. And as it was mentioned as well earlier, we really want to liaise and take more advantage of finding commonalities with the other regional GEO. More specifically, let's remember that EuroGEO is specific among the other regional GEO. It has been working and is still working as an incubator of Earth observation application. It can help tackling the last mile of the EO value chain. We consider that the relation with DigiDefis is really important to work together within the EuroGEO and taking advantage of the complementarities between the space and the research program. After some years of test and soft governance, we need to explore maybe a more robust program structure for EuroGEO. There are many existing models in Europe and in the member states, partnerships, European research and infrastructure, procurement, the Cassini initiative. But of course, this has not to come from us, it has to be done all together. So all this we will try to translate it in the EuroGEO implementation plan for the GEO work program. And I will invite in the coming weeks to create some drafting session that I will first address to the coordination group of EuroGEO and then to the rest of the community, hoping that we can really get a work program that translates our ambitions. Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Thierry. Thank you, Jean. I think you have provided a very good overview of the opportunities that also lie ahead, and a lot of work that we still need to do in order to harness this opportunity. I think that conscious of the time, I'll carry on straight away. You mentioned as one of the potential contributors to the development of EuroGEO, the new Knowledge Center for Earth Observation, and who better to tell you something about this Knowledge Center than Mark Dowell, who is the project leader for scientific and technical support to the Copernicus programs at the European Commission Joint Research Center, and is responsible for coordinating this newly established Knowledge Center. So it's very important also to say that Mark is co-chair of the task force for the proposed Copernicus anthropogenic CO2 emissions initiative, and is also co-chair of the GEO Working Group on Climate Change. So Mark, please take it away and tell us all you have to do without hesitation on the Knowledge Center for Earth Observation.
Thanks, Max. Can you see my screen? Max, can you see that?
Yes, excellent.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, and glad to be able to tell you today a bit about this new initiative, which actually was just launched before the summer, a European Commission Knowledge Center on Earth Observation. And as you'll see, you see it's got a little subtitle here on the use of Earth observation for EU policy. And as you'll see, that's really kind of at the foundation of our thinking in developing this knowledge center and kind of our ambitions as we look to the future. So just to be clear, this isn't something that's that doesn't come within an existing kind of context and structure. These knowledge centers are something that have been developed within the Commission over the last 6 or 7 years. There are 9 currently existing. The last launched was the one on cancer, and they're actually covered by a specific Commission communication. And really, the key role is to provide a virtual entity bringing together experts and knowledge from different locations, both inside and outside of the Commission. And a lot of the thinking in whether and what the Knowledge Centre on Earth Observation could do came out of a report that the Joint Research Centre and what was then DG GROW undertook a few years ago to really understand across the Commission services what interest, what existing use of Earth observation there was, how it is being kind of carried through into legislation and so on and so forth. And this report actually addressed basically 33 different policy units across 17 DGs and came up with quite a good cross-section of our helping to kind of underpin our understanding of really where there was current use and where there was opportunity to further develop this in the future. So the Knowledge Centre, as we've kind of conceived it, and I should say that basically there's a steering group, as you'll see later, for this Knowledge Centre, which has all of the interested DGs. And actually we had preparatory talks with DEFIS, RTD and Connect in advance to think about what each of the kind of the main implementing DGs for Earth observation, what interests they could have in this. But we kind of narrowed down on these 2 core pillars of work. The first, which is really underpinning a lot of what I've said so far, is to really make sure we're enhancing the uptake of Earth observation in EU policy and really translating needs expressed by the policy DGs into concrete products and services that can be implemented through programs such as Copernicus. And this, I should say, just to be very clear, we acknowledge, of course, that uptake is a much broader issue and something actually that the new space program regulation has put increased attention to, and that this responsibility for your update is distributed across the member states, of course, through the user forum, through the Copernicus services themselves, who maintain links to the individual user communities, as well as to the now new USPA agency transition from GSA, which obviously has more of the responsibility of uptake with respect to the downstream private sector. But we did feel that still within this kind of verified landscape of aspects dealing with uptake, there was still kind of a key need for an entity that really addressed the needs of EU policy. And then the second pillar, which I guess is also relevant to many of you, is to provide a forum across the DGs to really understand where we need to be prioritizing research and innovation developments to keep our Earth observation capacity state of the art. So that's not only within the framework programs, within Horizon 2020 in the past and Horizon Europe in the now and into the future, but also, of course, things like infrastructure investments, both from our colleagues in DG Connect, and the research infrastructure investments made through the framework program. It's also, of course, in the evolution, the funding that the space program provides for the evolution of services, ground segment and space segment. And of course, in a kind of a smaller contribution, but still important, I think, the JRC's own institutional work program, which also has activities on Earth observation. And then, so these are the 2 kind of key core pillars. And then in the middle of that, we also say the KCEO as an opportunity for a kind of this single entry point that allows the dialogue across the policy DGs, but also of the kind of that cross-cutting commission interest in Earth observation with the external community, whether that be our implementing partners in the space program, the member state entities who have an interest in Earth observation, and other stakeholders. So as we were kind of getting ready for the first discussions, we had our first steering group meeting just before the summer. And by the way, now we had actually 19 different DGs represented at that first steering group meeting. But we've kind of started to update the analysis that we'd done a few years ago to look at the interest at upcoming regulations and legislation, where we see Copernicus, potential for including Copernicus, and to start a dialogue with the different commission services on where we should be putting our priorities at the beginning. I think a key element as well that came out of these initial discussions is that sometimes we kind of think of Earth observation and its use in policy very much from a point of view of implementation. But what is obvious is that there's a lot of interest in thinking about how we use Earth observation all throughout the policy cycle, from policy anticipation to formulation, from adoption and of course implementation, as well as in policy evaluation. And at each step, there are actually aspects, and here, okay, I represent it generically, but you can think of it also in the context of specific policies, of how Earth observation can make contributions throughout the policy cycle. Another key element is, of course, that this, and another reason the Knowledge Center hopefully will provide some added value, is because many of the policy issues now, in particular in the context of the priorities of the new Commission, are very cross-cutting across the different sectoral policy DGs. Here, just as an example, we took the thematic areas that are kind of evidenced in the space program regulation as needing kind of a cross-cutting attention. And you can see that for many of these, there are multiple DGs, in some cases up to 4 or 5 or more, involved in each of these policy areas. So hopefully the Knowledge Center will provide that opportunity for dialogue across the DGs when we start to address different policy areas. And of course, the cross-cutting nature is not just with the policy DGs themselves, but also in the fact of how the programs are being implemented. We know, for example, that many services can contribute to a specific area, whether it be agriculture or disaster risk reduction or water management. There are multiple DGs, multiple services, contributing to each of these. So we're starting to think about how to implement these actual assessments. And one idea is really to make kind of this stepped approach to analysis. First, to assess the needs in a dialogue with the user DGs, then to make an assessment of the actual value chain that's required to underpin those needs, to translate those needs into quantitative requirements for fitness for products and services, and then to assess those requirements with respect to existing products and services so we can assess the fitness for purpose. And then ultimately to produce some type of a gap analysis with respect to the needs and recommendations for future evolution. We're thinking of starting with a pilot on biodiversity, and this was something that had a lot of support from the DGs at our first steering group meeting. So just very quickly, because I know I don't have much time left on the research pillar, I think here, are the underlying messages that we acknowledge, and I think across all the services involved, that Earth observation capability should not be static, that we need to take on board new technology and methods for sensing and data analysis, but at the same time that this investments are actually quite distributed across the Commission budgets. And we need to think about how we can use the Knowledge Center to rationalize and better plan across these programs how we can make better investments to address the different needs with contributions from the different investment opportunities that exist. So just a couple of words on implementation. As I've said, we have a steering group committee, which is composed of all of the DGs with an interest in Earth observation. As far as the actual work itself, we will implement this through a series of working groups, which will address either these deep dives in the policy context or maybe dedicated working groups on looking at research and innovation. And we will definitely include in these working groups all of the implementation partners that are involved with us, such as the Copernicus, the entrusted entities for the Copernicus services. But I want to be clear that we do see a clear opportunity for dialogue with the broader Earth observation community, both as we produce this work, as well as to kind of get feedback on where people see opportunities for new technological developments that we should be taking into consideration. And just a final slide on the international context to kind of bring it as well into our discussions around GEO. We should also think of this forum, we could also think of this forum as a central forum for involvement in our engagement on Earth observation with international partners and organizations. And this includes, of course, GEO, but as well also other multilateral coordination mechanisms, such as the Committee for Earth Observation Satellites. But it's not only about the kind of the data provision side, but also about our engagement on Earth observation with potential users at the international level, whether this be through UN agencies or other international organizations. And we think that maybe these, if we go through a very systematic way in following these needs and requirements through to providing assessments of products and services and that should be developed, these best practices can also be transferred in our dialogues, for example, in GEO to the international level, where we can show kind of lead by example, as it were, showing what we're developing in Europe on really codifying these policy needs in a way that can be translated into concrete products. And I'll just leave you with this. We have a web page if you want to go. And as a very pragmatic suggestion, I would also invite you, when you have relevant news and events that you think could be also of interest to the policy DGs in Brussels, to send us links to that, and we'll make sure that they're reflected and posted on the website. Thank you very much, Max.
Very much, Mark. I think this was really very interesting. Lots of opportunities and food for thought. And as you said, the process you're going through will be beneficial for GEO as a whole, because we're going through always that entire process. I've encouraged the participants, if they have questions, to put them in the chat, and we'll see what time we have to either answer those questions this afternoon, or if not, get back to you with some of the answers. So thank you very much for that, Mark. Again, I'm conscious of the time.
Max, I can't find my, can someone else take off my screen? I can't find my
my way home.
Stop sharing. Oh, I found it. Okay, here it is.
That's great. Thanks. So let's move now to the panel discussion and see how EuroGEO really links to some of the other regional initiatives. This is a topic of increasing importance as it's recognized in GEO. I'll pass the ball to my colleague, Marian van Berlo from DG Research and Innovation. Marian, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much, Max. So hello, everybody. It's me again. I'm going to take you into a panel discussion this time around, where we want to see how we can link EuroGEO to the other regional initiatives, being EuroGEO, EuroGEO, and EuroGEO. We are looking to hopefully have a really interactive discussion, first of all with the people in the panel, but hopefully also with you in the public. But before we do that, I quickly want to give all of the regional initiatives the opportunity to introduce their own regional initiatives. And we've also invited the GEO Secretariat, Wenbo, for this, to give her view on this, since over the last period, I would say even the last year, we have been on several occasions in contact with each other, and I think Wenbo from the Secretariat was the constant factor in this. So for now, I don't want to spend too much more time on introducing the session. It's about making sure that within the regional initiatives we find each other, and I would start with giving the floor to EuroGEO, to Phoebe. So Phoebe works, has a background in geospatial engineering and climate change and adaptation. She works for the Regional Center for Mapping of Resources for Development based in Nairobi as the point of contact for the EuroGEO Secretariat, the regional initiative of GEO Initiative of Africa. Her roles in this include regional coordination of GEO and EuroGEO activities within Africa and engagement with the GEO Secretariat and the EuroGEO community, and the overarching goal being the promotion of the use of Earth observation by data by governments in decision-making processes. Further on, she leads also the land use, land cover mapping activities for the Server Eastern and Southern Europe, Southern Africa project, and last but not least, she is a gender champion and has supported several gender-related activities for the institution, including awareness creation and strategy development. And with that, Phoebe, I invite you to take the floor and take us into EuroGEO before we go to the other regional initiative. The floor is yours, Phoebe.
I was talking to myself. Thank you, Marianne. Can I be allowed to share my screen?
I think
briefly?
you can. Please give it a try because I think you have the rights, and if not, I can help you along there.
Okay, Sam tells me I cannot start my screen share.
Sherry, can you do something about it, or shall I share the slides?
I think you need to stop sharing your screen.
You can do it now.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay.
Give it another try, please, Phoebe.
Okay, just 1 minute.
If not, Marianne, you can share your screen.
Yeah, otherwise I will do it, but
Yeah.
let's see.
I need to share it myself because I have to look at my notes.
Ah,
Just 1 minute.
okay.
Okay, so please do it, Marianne.
It is.
Does it work for you, Phoebe, or do you want me to share it?
Please go ahead and share it. I can't seem to find it. It's not popping up.
Not a problem. I will do it. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Okay, please go ahead, Phoebe, and tell me when I need to share to continue.
All right, so I'll be representing about the EuroGEO and EuroGEO collaboration. Next. So basically, like Marianne indicated, the EuroGEO initiative is the regional representative for GEO in Africa. And ideally, our function is to provide a coordination framework and platform for African member states to participate in GEO. Our key objectives being how we can be able to promote partnership with the regional economic communities for each and every region that is represented in Africa, to increase the uptake of Earth observation in Africa, particularly when promoting human capital development, to facilitate and work towards achieving the global and regional objectives. So this is in relation to the Sustainable Development Goals, the Africa Agenda 2063, as well as the Sendai Framework for Disasters. Further to this, we have a role in promoting collaboration. So this is collaboration, whether national, regional, and international organizations. We also work towards fostering the creation of synergies and ensuring that we, as much as possible, avoid duplication of efforts across Africa. We work to liaise with the GEO secretariats more particularly to ensure that the GEO activities in Africa are streamlined to the member states and participating organization priorities. We promote the uptake of Earth observation in decision-making processes, and we also provide avenues for disseminating data and information related to Earth observation that supports different development issues. We also work towards communication outreach and user engagement, as well as mobilization of resources. Next, please. We have different activities that EuroGEO is working towards, And for instance, we are supporting the EU R&D facility, which is basically looking at two thematic areas, that is water and agriculture, and is providing opportunities for capacity building, for strengthening the Euro-Africa collaborations. It's also promoting the use of cloud computing resources, as well as offering a resource lab for research to take place effectively. And as well, we shall be also having through this a space academy that shall foster capacity building either through MOOCs or face-to-face trainings. We've also collaborated with Soils of Africa, which is really a soil information system that is supporting agricultural intensification activities in Africa. And through this, we hope to increase food production and also food security. The GMS for Africa is also another area of collaboration. So this is a program that has been there since 2000 and is being implemented throughout the whole of Africa. So GMS supports two main service areas, that is natural and water resources, as well as the marine and coastal services. And through these particular main services, there are other sub-services that focus on water monitoring, on ground knowledge consolidation, on how to monitor the tropical and subtropical lines, as well as the oceanography variables. So GMS, basically it's been transitioning from different activities, and through that we've seen the MSD program, and currently the current phase of GMS should be ending in 2020, and we hope that there'll be a new phase from 2022 going on. Then we have the GeoLDN activity that works towards combating desertification and also supporting the SDGs. So the GeoLDN initiative has different partners, and the African participants has been supporting particularly the capacity building component, where we're hoping that through this, we're going to enhance capacity building either through accredited university degrees, that is master's and PhD, and also have opportunity to rapidly build technical capacities within institutions by providing short courses to be able for the institutions to be able to undertake what is necessary. We also have the collaboration with GeoLDN that is supported not just with Europe but also with other regions, and through the Geo Blue Planets, which is supported also through other regions, but the co-chair for the fisheries working group has been working towards making sure that we are addressing the fisheries productivity challenges, that is the illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing through better surveillance. So this has really helped especially the West African coast to have better surveillance for these illegal activities and increasing food, the fish productivity. Through the CICRIFOG project, we have also worked towards basically making an assessment of the situation in Africa as far as climate smart agriculture is concerned, and also looking at the different frameworks that are available for greenhouse gas monitoring. And this is basically supposed to support either mitigation, adaptation, actions related to climate change. Next, please. At a regional level, we have other activities taking place in Africa. So we have like the BioPharma project that is being implemented in 24 countries that is supporting development of biodiversity data in protected areas. We have like the OFESA project that is looking at how to be able to develop a forest of Sabatari in actually 5, not 4 countries. There is the land governance program that is strengthening the governance issues related to particularly farmlands. And through this, we're going to be able to improve food security. We also have a project being implemented on environmental testing and climate smart agropastoral systems that is looking towards how we can use Earth observation and remote sensing to be able to develop scenarios that make sure that the water resources and feed availability for livestock is actually being addressed in Kenya and Ethiopia. Through GIZ also and World Bank, there is the NELGA project that is being implemented in 10 countries and is looking at having a data repository. But outside of this, we also have other regional programs taking place like the WASCAL and SOSCAL in the West Africa and Southern Africa region that are addressing different land-related challenges due to climate change. And of course, within the countries, there are also other related programs that are taking place. Next, please.
And can I also
So
ask you to wrap up, Phoebe? Sorry for this, but we have
yes,
a couple of other speakers.
this is my last one. So we also providing support through the regional exchanges of best practices for all the regional geos. We have the cross-regional participation exchange, such as this one. There's a resource mobilization components that we do through different partners from Europe. There's also the regional connections, like when partners come on board, we make sure that they're connected to the right entities in terms of implementation. There's the regional contributions to the GEO work program, where each and every region is making their own contribution. And lastly, we also support other related GEO activities such as next year's. Then to close, in my next slide is to welcome you to the AfriGEO Symposium taking place later this year. Thank you.
Sorry, I was talking with my microphone still on mute. Thank you so much for that, Phoebe. That was great. And then I will continue to Singfa Gu. Professor Dr. Gu is a professor of the Aerospace Information Center Institute in the Chinese Academy of Sciences, ERCAS. And next to other tasks, he's also an academician in the International Academy of Astronautics, as well as the International Academy for Europe and Asia. He's an expert of the GEO Decade development plan, and he's a member of the GEO Program Board and the initiator and one of the co-chairs of the Asia Oceanic Group on Earth Observation, EuroGEO, where you're here for, of course. Next to that, he has been the co-chair of the CODATA Task Group of Preservation for Open Access to S&T data in developing countries, and since 2009 he's a Deputy Secretary General of the Asian Remote Sensing Association. He has been engaged in quantitative remote sensing, optical satellite sensor calibration, and aerosol remote sensing and demonstration of the Earth observation system. And with that, he has published 480 peer-reviewed journal articles and 10 books, and received many awards for this. With that, I would like to give you the floor, Mr. Gu. Please go ahead.
Oui, bonjour, good afternoon. Merci beaucoup pour votre magnifique introduction. Thank you very much for your introduction about me, and so I feel very, very happy to be here to join the EuroGEO workshop. I'm really pleased to introduce you about some future activities of EuroGEO in order to have some background introduction about our EuroGEO and EuroGEO cooperation. So now the EuroGEO is divided into 3 parts with 3 task groups for the foundational task for data sharing, data hub, and data cube, user engagement and communication, and we have 9 application and service task groups for different categories. We have also 3 integrated priority studies to address some priority studies of GEO. So for the last years, we have paid many important intention to build the integrated priority study, because we think that just meeting, discussion, talking will not be enough, and we need to set up some region and some integrated study to work together, especially for the Mekong River Basin, for the small island states, and for the Himalaya mountains. And we have our continuous EuroGEO Symposium, thanks to the wonderful organization of our Japanese colleagues. From 3 to 5 March of this year, we have an online symposium to review the recent achievements of EuroGEO. We have also our continuous EuroGEO workshop, which is a little different from the EuroGEO Symposium, in which in this we address especially for the working discussion, and this year we have discussed deeply the collaboration between the regional GEOs. Thank you very much for your intervention of our regional geo colleagues. And we have discussed also downscale geo emerging topics, how to connect national geo and regional international geo. We have initiated also the brainstorm for EuroGEO strategic plan. We are discussing what's our future for the EuroGEO, especially now the past EuroGEOs becomes EuroGEO. We have also discussed how to promote our unique invention, the IPS works. We continued our EuroGEO training workshop during the EuroGEO workshop. This year we have more than 250 trainings from 24 countries for attend to this training workshop. And we have launched our first initiative for the regional capacity development center for EuroGEO, the joint work between the remote center of China and the EastMod, and from based in Nepal, and the aircars from Chinese Academy of Sciences, which has received a good success. So for me, the integrated periodic study for the climate change, for the sustainable development, and for the small islands will be a good topic for our in close regional collaboration, especially between EuroGEO and EuroGEO. And the training program, training course, and the training center could be also a good base for the EuroGEO and EuroGEO, EuroGEO and EuroGEO cooperation. I would like outline also now in China, we have launched a special geo support research program from the Ministry of Science and Technology. Every year about 10 million euros, especially for geo activities, and most part will be for EuroGEO and for the international regional cooperation. So that's some key points I would like to outline, and we feel very happy that we have organized successful with EuroGEO during the cabinet meeting about the climate change, and we are happy that we have some deeper exchange between us. Thank you very much for your invitation, and we will be very happy to receive your support and to cooperate with you, all our regional GEO colleagues. Thank you very much, Mariana.
Grande merci à vous, Singva. Thank you so much for this. And without further ado, I will continue to our next speaker for EuroGEOS. So this is Angelica Gutierrez. Dr. Gutierrez is a scientist at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in the US, and is recognized for her outstanding contributions as the co-lead for the group on Earth Observations Global Water Sustainability Initiative, and is also the co-chair of the EuroGEO Coordination Working Group since 2014 already. Dr. Gutierrez has shown exceptional vision, serving as a global ambassador for open sharing of Earth observation data for improving sustainable freshwater management in multiple countries, and pioneering and guiding scientific and regional collaboration in the Americas. In November 2019, the group on Earth observations and its member recognized her work, her passion, dedication, and perseverance by honoring her with the 2019 GEO Individual Excellent Award. And with that, Angelica, I give you the floor. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Marjan, and good morning, everyone. Without more space I'm going to dive into EuroGEO. And so thank you for the invitation. This is a pleasure for us. And a pleasure to be here. So EuroGEO was actually created in 2014, and the objective was actually to get a sustainable engagement of the Americas Caucasus. The 8 countries at the moment that created EuroGEO had very clear objectives. In there, they wanted that the EuroGEO would be a cooperative effort of the then 16 members. Now we are 20 members in our region. That all our efforts will be entrenched in the institutional and technical capacities of each of the country members, and that we needed to address and increase the institutional as well as the personal capacity and actually involve the experts and decision makers of the individual countries. So we have been working, one of the main objectives, besides setting the priority areas in our region, we have been working very heavily in strengthening the national GEOs. In 2019, Peru actually came as part of the co-chairs. At the moment, we are United States, Peru, and Costa Rica are the co-chairs of the Americas Caucus. Peru came on board and decided to develop a methodology in such a way that we could strengthen or develop the national GEOs. We realized that that is a fundamental piece for any successful regional GEO. And they provided actually the information in the report last month during the Americas Caucus meeting. This involves not only international collaboration, but also very strong effort at the national level, because in many cases, the sister agencies, they are with their responsibilities at the national level, and it's difficult for them to devote more time to actually formulate other activities with sister agencies in the same country. So EuroGEO has been assisting the different countries in formulating activities in which these organizations can work together. A very important piece of EuroGEO came in 2020 also. We realized that one of the main issues in our region, and for this in all regions perhaps, is the lack of interoperability, that we needed to bring integration of the different geospatial information as well as Earth observation. So in 2020, EuroGEO and UNGGIM Americas signed the Aguas Calientes Declaration. In there, we seek cooperation among the regional organizations, not only UNGGIM Americas, but also, for example, the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, the Pan American Institute of Geography and History, as I said, the United Nations Environment Program in the Americas, and so forth, Red Clara. Many organizations came forward, and we are actually working to develop a joint action plan that includes activities of capacity building, communications, and technology development. So this is actually leading into new activities inside our own region. We recognize that there are many resources out there and even within our own region, but without the self-assessment of the region, we will not be progressing as we want to do. So this year in 2021, we are engaged in the Open Geospatial Consortium disaster pilot projects, where more than 40 organizations, public and private, are engaged. Some of these organizations are actually European and international organizations. So in there, we also brought a PeruSat one, which is also a regional resource. So we are working slowly to incorporate outside of the region organizations and partners. And our focus, as I said, is our self-assessment, see how we best, what are the best resources that we need to address our multiple issues and problems in terms of environmental activities. So I'm going to leave it there, and I look forward to the discussion. Margin. You are on mute.
Good. Yeah, I was going to say thank you so much, Angelica, and then it's time for our last regional initiatives. And since you've seen enough of Sean and Thierry and myself, we actually asked somebody who has been working with EuroGEO a lot in the past and has now returned to the scene, which is Jose Rubio. So Jose Miguel Rubio Iglesias is currently working as a geospatial data management expert at the European Environment Agency, EA. And since he took up his duty in 2017, he has been in charge of the geospatial data catalog of the EEA, including its connections to the GEOSS portal. He's currently in charge of the geo-related activities on data sharing and management with a focus on in-situ data. And he's also a member of INSPIRE, the infrastructure for spatial information in Europe, and its coordination team, and the contact point for citizen science for the EEA, holding as well the position of co-chair of the interest group on citizen science of the Network of Environmental Protections Agencies. So Jose, I think you're going to say something else than we usually say about EuroGEO. So please go ahead, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks a lot, Marianne, for inviting me. This session is excellent because I think it's a great idea to get together the different regional geos. I think for the first time, and I hope it's not for the last time, and we include a regular debrief and participation in future EuroGEO workshops. I have not prepared any slide. I think we have heard enough and a lot, and we will keep hearing later on EuroGEO plan and how EuroGEO is working. Of course, we have seen already, we have heard about what is the main motto of EuroGEO, which is cooperate, coordinate, combine, a regional initiative which is aiming at integrate the different European contributions to GEOSS, but also try to incubate new Earth observation products and applications. We can see that between different regional geos, there are specificities, and of course, each of the regional geos has its own policy goals. It has its also structures which are trying to fulfill their regional needs. But of course, we see also clearly common denominators. Addressing regional needs is a common denominator, and also there are many other aspects which I think it could be the focus for future collaboration across the different regional geos. Definitely, I would like to focus on two main aspects, which I think I'm not sure we have been reflecting on them enough in this last days. One is on one side, an element which I consider that definitely is one of the success stories of GEO, which is the GEO data sharing, data management principles. This is something that is, its implementation is definitely something which entails everyone in the GEO community. And it's an area where I think the different regional GEOs could also make a contribution, not only at individual basis, but also across the different regional geos to exchange best practices, to exchange success stories, and also to exchange ways in capacity building materials. Another aspect that I think it will be important to highlight, and that I think is relevant for all the regional geos, where we can also establish some sort of collaboration, is also on the different activities that we can set up in around the promotion of availability and accessibility of in-situ data. As you all know, GEO is stepping up the game, so to speak, in the context of in-situ by preparing a sort of data strategy and a work plan, which is promoting trying to promote further the availability and accessibility of in-situ data. So this is something that is relevant for all of us, and definitely is something that where we can try to promote collaboration, not only within the regional geos, but also across the different regional geos. But of course, there are challenges, which I'm sure we may, if we have time, we will discuss about about it and all the different structures and different ways in which each of the different regional geos have been set up, make maybe the process of collaboration a bit challenging, but on the other side, it's also an opportunity to see how we can engage and embed better these activities in the context of GEO. So I will not say much more, and expect maybe we can discuss further in the panel discussion if we have time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jose. Yeah, panel discussion time is reducing quickly, but I think it's also important to realize what is around. However, I still want to give a final word of introduction to Wenbo. Wenbo Xu is the work program officer at the Group on Earth Observation Secretariat, liaising with the work program activities to help them stay engaged, coordinated, and delivering. She coordinated the data sharing efforts within GEO between 2014 and 2017, first as a seconded expert and later as a staff member. And before joining GEO, she was the deputy director of the Division of National Science and Technology Infrastructure Center in China. She led several research projects on policy and mechanisms for science and technology resources sharing between 2007 and 2013. And she received a master's degree in engineering in the Tsinghua University in 2007. And she's also a certified project management professional. So Wenbo, do you want to say some words from the side of the GEO Secretariat, and then I hope we can still have a bit of a discussion. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Marjan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm glad to see the colleagues of the regional GEOs. We just had a meeting 2 weeks ago. So we are closely connected, and I think this discussion comes at the right time, the connections between the regional GEOs. And this reminds me of the series of discussion we had 3 years ago when regional GEOs were still regional GEOS. At that time, we came together, and I think, we should do something to think of the role of the regional initiatives. They are kind of different from the global initiatives, the thematic initiatives, and beyond the delivering products and services, they have more. They have the role of a coordination, connecting to the national members, and also potentially upscale of the regional needs to the global forum, and a downscale global services to the member countries. So we did that research thoroughly, and eventually so we reached an agreement that the regional GEOs should become regional GEO. So in addition to the implementation characters, we also have to do the coordination. And I think now we are again at the critical phase that to rethink after the 2019 to 2020 work program cycle, kind of a testing phase. We are on the more bottom up approach. Can we be more or combination of top-down approach so that we can be better delivering? And from the secretary point of view, we have been trying to support the regional GEOs individually and collectively. And so one of the approach is the PB engagement process. And we have been interviewing each of the regional GEOs in terms of their governance, their resourcing, their coordination with the international initiatives and the other regional bodies, programs, and in terms of communication and impact and what support is needed. And I think this is not only a process for understanding what each of the regional GEOs is doing, but also we hope the regional GEOs take it as a kind of a SWOT analysis, the process to design the next phase of implementation plan. And but from the that process, what we found the common challenge, I would say, one is resourcing. I think most regional GEOs don't have the luck of EuroGEO, have a central funding mechanism to support their activities. And hopefully, in the process of developing the next implementation plan, we could, think it thoroughly and find the path to mobilize resources. And secondly, I think the conversation between regional GEOs actually provide a great opportunity to exchange best practices. And I can see, each of the regional GEOs have some practices that could be replicated in other regional initiatives. For example, what impressed me most is EuroGEO. They have the foster the national GEO establishment process. I think that's excellent. For the GEOs concept to close the last mile to bring the critical national stakeholders on the table. And for example, EuroGEO, what impressed me most is their communication, between the members of EuroGEO, their community of practice, their newsletter, their mailing list, all small things, but bring together a very close community and so on. So I won't elaborate further. So I believe so the closer communication among the regional GEOs will help each other to deliver even better regional GEO. And I look forward to the further discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Wimbo, and great that you could be here today. And indeed, this session we have done a similar session before during the GEO plenary, but I think also in the different regional workshops. I've been there. What was it, 2 years ago at the EuroGEO workshop? I think that Angelica, you have been with us a couple of times already. So yeah, so it's let's say it's not because of lack of trying, but apparently there's something still standing in the way of making it a full cooperation. And before giving the audience the opportunity to post questions in the chat, so please go ahead and do so if you have any. I just wanted to ask to each of you what you think is the biggest obstacle, and maybe I start with you, Singfa, because you actually already put that on one of the slides. What is the biggest obstacle in fully working together? So if I can give you the floor, but the question is really for all of you. Singfa, would you like to react on what's the biggest obstacle on working together, if you want?
Okay, thank you very much. For me, the most success for me is that in AO region, finally, the countries which has very different point of view for many things like Japan, China, Korea, India, and other countries, we can use wonderfully this international platform, GEO, to work together. And this has not happened for other platforms. So we feel very happy that the GEO is a common and standing platform for us. But we feel that after we moved from the EuroGEOS to EuroGEO, how to connect this EuroGEO to the caucus, how to receive the the recommendation and what's the relationship with the cohort. Sometimes we don't understand well. And another thing is that we have tried many times between EuroGEO and EuroGEO is that we need to do more to do some closer regional geo for the international geo activities. That's my first idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Angelica, Phoebe, Jose, do any of you want to react to that? Yeah, please go ahead, Angelica.
Yeah, I actually have a different perspective. I don't think that there are obstacles. You know, as Wembo said, we are fairly new entities within GEO, and you know, we have been taking the time, at least in EuroGEO, taking the time to evaluate, you know, what are the gaps that we have, to learn where we are and what we need. And as I said before, one of the most important pieces for us is that we realize that we need to strengthen our national institutions, those national GEOs. I think that, as I mentioned in my presentation, we are engaged with the OGC pilot. And I think that that's where the opportunity is, with very concrete, very practical applications. You know, when we find a problem and we come together from different corners of the world to solve the issue, then we will have. So no, I don't think that we have obstacles. I mean, we are very different. The regionals are very different, but it's a matter of time. We are just babies in many ways. So we need to become, you know, more mature to reach that point.
And maybe indeed it's more like finding where the benefits lie than looking at where we might have obstacles. Yeah, I think that's also a nice approach. But just give the floor to Jose and then Phoebe before going to the audience, because I see there's a question from Marie-Françoise as well. But please go ahead, Jose.
I will be very, very quick. I agree completely with Angelica. I don't think there are really obstacles, but let's maybe call them challenges. And when it comes to challenges, I could understand definitely it lacks still a bit maturity, and also on the regional geos per se, and also in how they are included in the structure of geo. And I think that maybe can be one of the challenges. Another, which I think also Angelica said, it's about we need also to find the common ground, use cases where, or a user-driven, so to speak, case where we can collaborate together, and that will facilitate the collaboration. And of course, I mean, another challenge as well is that, as also Wembo was saying, we all, not regional geo, has the same structure, the same kind of resources, and this can also be an issue as per how many resources we can devote to this kind of collaborations.
No, for sure. I see. Just Phoebe, shall I give you the floor quick before we go to the raising hands? If you want to make your last remark on this.
Yes, please. So in terms of, basically, I don't look at it so much as the barriers, but I look at them as opportunities, just like Angelica said. And for coming from a region that is really constrained as far as resources is concerned, we really look at those opportunities for collaboration to be a strength. Looking at how some regional programs like Savir, for instance, which covers the Eastern and Southern Africa, and also the Western Africa. So this is more or less coverage of close to half the continent. How can we be able to leverage such partnership in terms of addressing some of the challenges we are facing? For instance, Africa is really big. It's 54 countries. And just trying to understand all the needs for all of these countries can be a huge undertaking. By the time you get to the last one, all the other needs are already old. So leveraging on the opportunities we get from all these other partners really makes the weight lighter. And also looking at how we can be able to collaborate better, so that we see that some of the needs within EuroGEO are being addressed by other partners, and we see those opportunities when they arise, how we can be able to take advantage of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Phoebe. Wembo, I go to you first, since you are part of the panel, before I finally give the floor to Marie-Françoise. So please go ahead, Wembo.
Well, I think Phoebe and Jose Rubio almost covered what I wanted to say. Yeah,
Great.
I would agree with Angelica. So in terms of a connection between regional geos, I don't think there are barriers. So it's just an amount of investment, to have more time to learn from each other. But I do recognize there are challenges exist in each of the regional geos, and their challenges may be different, and this needs a serious analysis and think of a path to go forward.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Wimbo. Then Marie-Françoise, you have the floor for a question.
Yes, no, well, it's not for a question. I wanted to add, well, thank you very much to give me the floor. Thank you to Angelica to have announced the disaster pilot. And I wanted to say that with this disaster pilot, we are really not far, because it involves a lot of European participants. Angelica has mentioned that we use Perusat data, but we also use Sentinel data. We are using European resources like the TEPS, the GeoSS TEP, because it's a disaster pilot. We are discussing with the DS because we work on interoperability. So we have Amazon that has provided some resources, and we are discussing with the European DS to have some cloud interoperability. So we are really not far. It is not labeled EuroGEO, because at some point we weren't discussing with the EuroGEO stakeholders, but you have so much complexity, and we need to have a roadmap, and we have to provide to the sponsors what we need to provide on time. So at some point we did not finish the labeling with the EuroGEO, but it is happening. I mean, there is no obstacle, and it is happening. So no problem from my side, I think.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for that contribution. Are there any other questions from somebody wanting to take the floor in the audience? We have all the 4 regional geos together here, so I would take this opportunity to ask a question if you have one. If not, I see one in the chat, but I think it's more directly targeted at every geo. So if there's another one more generally, I would like to take that. And if not, we go to the question in the chat. Nothing for now. Maybe people are tired after 4 days of EuroGEO workshop. Then let me take the question in the chat, but make it a bit broader. Robinson Mugo is saying, interesting presentation, Ms. Phoebe O'Doer. Great work going on in Africa. Are there other initiatives making a difference in this space? Let me ask that maybe for each of you, if there's one thing you would like to highlight right now going on in your region where you think that the other regional initiatives can benefit from in one way or another. It can be something small, it can be something big or something unique. I'll leave that up to you. But if there's one thing you would like to mention, you have the floor now, and then maybe, because looking at the time as well, maybe that could also be sort of the positive closing of this session, knowing that we have much more opportunities to meet each other later and hopefully physically again. Yes, Angelica, start with you.
Yes, I want to highlight the work that we have been doing with youth communities. So we have the Geo Pathways program here in the United States, and we have that program is we are trying to expand that. We have been working with universities. Our leader in the disaster area, Ricardo Quiroga, has been also very active with engaging organizations. So I think that that's a piece where we need to put a little bit more emphasis in general. We have the Inter-American Academy for Science, and this is a big piece of a big resource in our region. This is a collaboration with UNGGIM Americas and many other organizations where you will have workshops, webinars, recording, and people can go and actually access that information. So one of the issues is that many of our regions don't have the technical capacity, and so there is a need for that type of efforts. And so I want to highlight that we are actually working together inside our community, but we welcome any other. We have courses in English and Spanish, and we are welcoming, any other languages in this academy. So.
Thank you for that. And actually, our European Commission President has just announced that the next year will be about youth. So maybe we can learn something from each other already there. Phoebe, maybe something from Africa you want to share at this point as sort of a take it away message for people to think about in their own regional GEOSS.
Yes, so I think particularly for Africa, the need to have this consolidated Earth observation space coming together, I think it's very necessary, because it helps in terms of streamlining things. It helps in terms of collecting these impact stories, and also in terms of getting the value. And right now we're in a place where a lot of African countries are basically developing their own space agencies in terms of coordinating the EO related activities for different sectors. So we see this as an opportunity for countries to continue to benefit. We also see this as an opportunity for countries to also be able to leverage what is existing globally and using these opportunities to serve in their national challenges. I think this is one area where we need to look at how do we take advantage of what is already existing to make to provide solutions for some of the challenges we face in Africa. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for that. Wenbo, you're asking for the floor. Something you want to share on the side of the GEO Secretariat on this? Oh, you're on mute, Wenbo.
I just want to compliment what Angelica said, because Marjan, you just allow, for one of the, best practices, but I want to speak for EuroGEO for the recent ministerial roundtable at the EuroGEO workshop. I think that is excellent practice that bring the key decision makers to the table, so that Earth observation-based solutions could be, considered in their, long-term planning, like a, national adaptation plan and so on.
Great, thank you. Singfa, please go ahead if you want to share something with us on this.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, I observed that we have really rich satellite data like Sentinel data, Landsat, and the Chinese GolfSat, etc. So, but we have not enough easy to use information. So I would like to ask if it's possible we cooperate together to build some middle resolution about 10 meters. This is the Sentinel spatial resolution to build a global carved Earth, information Earth, to support sustainable development and for climate change. So this means that we need to use some detailed real case to show how we show the data, how we build and obtain the information, and how to use the EO data for our society. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. I just wanted to share one more comment from the chat before giving Jose Rubio, as the EuroGEO representative in a EuroGEO workshop, the final statement of this session. So I just want to pick up on what Stephen Ramage from the GEO Secretariat has shared, saying that he loves to see a lot more collective action on impact, and that we've started to work on this in the different regional GEOs, and I can confirm we have, but the value of EO is still critical across all regions. So ideally using examples from the GEO work program. So I think this is for all of us a message to take home. And I saw that at least Angelica has also reacted to that. So yeah, thank you for that. And let's see how we can work with that. And then it's time for the final statement from the side of EuroGEO on what you want to share from the side of EuroGEO as an inspiring example to take home. Let's say it like that.
Well, I
Please go
think
ahead.
we have seen many inspiring examples the last days, and we will keep seeing very interesting presentations after this panel. I could speak about many things, like for example, I mean the space regulation, which was approved not many months ago, the continuation of Copernicus, like biggest Earth observation program for a number of years more. I could say also from the side of the European Environment Agency and our direct relation with GEO that we started at the beginning of the year a specific collaboration project with the European Commission to promote the data sharing, data management principles. And it's something that's why we are also putting a lot of effort in this area. We would like to make a focus, which is pretty much linked as well to one of the policy flagships, so to speak, of the time, which is the climate adaptation strategy of the EU. It will be trying to promote this and promote the accessibility of data, Earth observation, in-situ data, socioeconomic data, for fulfilling the goals and the data needs of the adaptation strategy as part of the EuroGEO and ultimately as part of GEO as well.
Thank you for that, José. And with that, I'd like to close the session with a big thanks to Singfa, Angelica, Phoebe, José, and Wembo. Thank you for being here. And I give back the floor to Max with hopefully some minutes to spare for a little bit of a coffee break. Thank you so much, all of you.
Yes, thank you very much to all of you. Most fascinating and very interesting and timely discussion. Unfortunately, now we are 20 minutes late. And so we should have already restarted.
Only 5 by me.
So what I suggest is that we take 5. You know, just get up, stretch your legs, see if you can have a comfort break or a cup of coffee, and let's return in what I suggest is at 3:10. Okay, so see you shortly. Excellent. So welcome back. I'm sure it was quick. We have recovered 5 minutes. Now we have the challenge to recover the rest. I'll start with Evangelos. This is there. So I'll just say a few words. Evangelos Gerasopoulos is the research director of the Institute for Environmental Research and Sustainable Development of the National Observatory of Greece. He's also the director of the Greek GEO office, and very importantly, is now the new co-chair of the program board. So welcome, Evangelos. He's coordinated many urban and other projects, of which I'm sure he will tell you something starting now. Evangelos, the floor is yours. You're muted.
Thank you very much, Max. I suppose now you can see full screen. Yep, now you are muted, so we are even.
Yes, we can see you well, and you know, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Nice being with you today here. So resilient cities and human settlements, a new engagement priority for GEO. This is what we are going to be talking about today. A discussion that started back in 2016 when the new urban agenda was launched. It was revived in 2019 when UN Habitat requested specific support from GEO to support urban indicators. And GEO took action by establishing the Urban Resilience Subgroup, which prepared all things that need to be done to come to November this year, to the GEO plenary, and have the approval of resilient cities and human settlements as the 4th engagement priority. As we all know, GEO has 3 strategic priorities, engagement priorities as they call, the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the Paris Climate Agreement, and the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. And urban resilience as a cross-cutting engagement priority comes not to overlap with those engagement priorities, but rather to tackle with all those particularities and complexities that the urban domain imposes to our works. And of course, to enable covering one more international policy frame, which is the new urban agenda. So coming to the main objectives of the new engagement priority, is to determine how Earth observation can really assist the implementation of the new policy frame in practical means, because there's going to be assessment every 4 years in the new urban agenda, to make more efficient the engagement with cities and competent stakeholders. Very much important to increase the visibility of existing urban relevant activities within the GEO work program, but also to regional GEOs, and trigger the initiation of new activities under this new frame. Finally, to promote collaboration between the GEO engagement priorities and also within and across regional GEOs, which was also part of the discussion we had during the previous session. So this table comes from the engagement plan that has been developed, and some of the key milestones that we are having ahead is the approval from the plenary of the engagement priority, and then actually the real work not starts but continues in 2022 by calling out for nominations for a working group, similarly to what exists currently for the other engagement priorities. And also a critical point, it's going to be the recruitment of a dedicated coordinator at the GEO Secretariat, which we know very well that has really facilitated the works also in the other engagement priorities. So the establishment of this new engagement priority unavoidably and unambiguously brings a number of implications, but also creates a great number of opportunities and benefits for the whole GEO community, but also for the stakeholders involved. So time given, I won't be able to go through all those implications, opportunities. So I have just picked up examples coming from EuroGEO and projects. Some of them have already been presented in the previous days, to pick out some messages that I consider very relevant, that demonstrate the current status of EuroGEO, but also the way forward in this engagement priority. So I start with how we can more efficiently tackle policy. So from policy to GEO and back. This is an example coming from the Eiffel project, where in one of the pilots, we have the full implementation of Earth observation practices to support the National Plan for Energy and Climate and achieve the targets that are set by a country, Greece in particular, and it's being implemented as a pilot in a specific city, Athens. The specific targets are to improve energy efficiency of buildings by 38%, and you see in the scheme the current traditional methodology, which has nothing to do with Earth observation, but now we plan to incorporate Earth observation, for example, to improve the information of the building stock by counting the surface or the height or the detachment of the buildings, even the thermal content of the buildings. The second target is the increase in renewables penetration, which the target is set to more than 35%. And there again, a number of services from Copernicus and other satellite sensors is going to be exploited for solar and aerosol products, and together with analysis about the inclination and shadowing effect will provide, at the neighborhood level, solar energy availability. And the last target is a transition to electric cars with a share exceeding 30%. Then again, there is a plan to exploit Earth observation and land use and compare it with emissions coming from a different scenario from the vehicles, and then also calculate co-benefits to concentration of pollutants and health. So at the end of the day, the aim is to develop a decision support system running different sectorial scenarios for urban emissions. This is very well aligned with the European Green Deal and the transition we are seeking with the Green Deal to more sustainable ways of doing things in cities. Another example comes from SMERS problem within ERA Planet. And this shows up actually the potential that the urban domain, the urban fabric brings for collaboration between the different observational platforms and computational platforms, incorporating new advancements like the Internet of Things, like drones, and of course, citizens of science. So here on one hand, we see satellite data, which now with computational techniques, we can increase radically the temporal and the spatial resolution. At the same time, you can really start incorporating and combining it with in situ information, which is a discussion that we are having long time now in GEO and EuroGEOS. I should mention here, for example, that next month, a Green Deal project called RI Urbans, which is the urban actress component, is being launched. So again, it gives nice opportunity to start creating synergies between the different transfers. City scale modeling, meeting one of the major needs for city scale, for city needs, which is the high resolution. And of course, we all understand that all these have create very many open fields for companies to develop and deliver services to the different clients and end users. So the next and last example I would like to bring forward comes from eSafe, and one of its pilot, which is relevant to urban resilience. And it is the point I want to make is exploitation of external data. Here, there are at least 2 use cases where on top of Earth observation data from the different platforms, there is an endeavor to combine it with data like health data, or socioeconomic data, or data about population density, and produce added value products. And this is very important because at the same time, you are doing multidisciplinary research, and you enable actually different stakeholders to come into the play and be really aware of what is happening within our EO community. Lastly, there are huge and many other opportunities where EO can play a real critical role, and this is a challenge for EuroGEO, but also for all other GEOs. I would just mention the EO for official statistics. We all know that big data is part of the play, and Earth observation is considered part of this big data. So Earth observation is really one of the tools, one of the weapons to fill the geospatial breakdown between statistical and geographical information. And here, build-up areas and settlement enumeration is one of the priorities settled, and we have many European triggered, but not just, initiatives that are handling issues like that, like the Human Planet Initiative, but also EO for SDG from the point of view of SDG. In a few years from now, most cities will probably be obliged to have accreditation system to prove they are smart, that they are sustainable and they are resilient. So Earth observation can really play a role for monitoring the key performance indicators. And lastly, these are my bullets for take-home messages. I will just stick to 2 of them, saying that was very gladly surprised about the many projects that were presented, which have very mature urban components and platforms in there, but unfortunately they are not reflected in the GEO work program. So most times they are invisible, they are lacking visibility there. So EuroGEO should really take action to somehow cluster and organize how those are shown up in GEO, because at the same time this will really feed our collection in the urban subgroup and other activities of use cases, which is important to promote the work. And at the end of the day, we are mature enough to go beyond demonstration. It's time that we can operationalize our services, as it was the discussion before, or commercialize it, bringing closer to us the private sector. So back in 2007, when SMERT began, this was our inception of how we should find.
I hope you're closing your talk now.
Yeah, of course I do. I had 10 minutes, I thought, yeah.
I know.
Yeah, but I'll do that. So that was the inception, the concept in 2017. So if I had to refine this, I would bring all our weapons closer to the targets, but unfortunately the targets are still up there, and the only way to get them down is to work together. So this is my last message, and I would like to thank you.
Thank you so much, Evangelos, and sorry for rushing you along, but you know, so the time is running very quickly. Nestor, the ball is yours now, and let's hear about biodiversity. Now, Nestor Fernandez is a scientist at the German Center for Integrated Biodiversity in Leipzig, and has been a scientific member of the GeoBond Secretariat, the GeoBond flagship, and now leads the GeoBond Data Task Force. So, Evangelos, the floor is yours, and you know, be succinct.
Thank you. Can you see my first slide?
Yes, we can. Very
okay,
well.
Thank you very much for this, and thank you for inviting me to present here. Okay, so probably one of the most challenging tasks ahead in biodiversity science and policy is increasing the availability of biodiversity information that can support policies across scales, from global to national and to subnational. For example, the last CBD report from 2020 resulted in a very sad conclusion that the world failed to meet a single target to stop the destruction of nature, and those targets were set 10 years before. But one problem here is that most of the information that was used in that report was very rough information. It was global scale information that usually can be used to address more specific and more detailed questions needed in policy and management. Now, the European Green Deal, and specifically within the one of the actions within the Green Deal is the biodiversity strategy for 2030, has established very ambitious targets to address this biodiversity crisis. And for example, nature protection, so increasing the nature protection and also increasing the amount of nature under strict protection, specific targets for restoring ecosystems to combat climate change, addressing this climate change from the point of view of biodiversity and ecosystem services, and addressing invasive species and so on. Now, in order to be able to inform those targets, to plan for them and to monitor how the biodiversity policies at the European level and implemented by member states are successful or not, there are still important information challenges that we really need to address. First, there are persisting biases in in-situ observations in the distribution, but also in the type of observations that we are taking. Second, biodiversity is a very complex concept and has very complex structure, which means that scaling observations of biodiversity is extremely difficult. And third, there is still a lack of availability of models and scenarios for informing policies and for informing management. One of the approaches, or a very prominent approach that has grown in recent years for trying to address those gaps, are the GeoBond essential biodiversity variables. Those variables, in a nutshell, can be defined as a minimum set of measurements which are complementary to one another, that capture the major dimensions of biodiversity change. And they are somehow analogous to the climate essential variables, but have some specific characteristics. And among those specific characteristics, it is addressing a highly multidimensional problem, which is the problem of characterizing biodiversity, which encompasses very different things, from the genetic composition of a species to much larger scale ecosystem structure and ecosystem function properties and so on. So basically, those essential variables are trying to address two big groups of attributes of biodiversity. One is focused on species and another on ecosystems. And in order to be able to capture and observe those attributes, we cannot use one single observation system. We really need to be able to integrate across many different types of observations. One of the most important advances in the community, in the biodiversity community, together with the remote sensing and other communities, have been the development of what we call the EBV workflows, the essential biodiversity variables workflows. That is, how do you get from capturing the primary observations, and those include opportunistic observations from citizens in the field, for example, of a bird species, of a butterfly, structured sampling, for example, of metabar coding of DNA, ecological observatories that can use eddy covariance flux measurements, and of course, satellite remote sensing. How do we go from all those different and complex observations to a more structured product and a more structured system that can actually provide spatial and temporal information on biodiversity change in time? Finally, one key aspect of this integration is also being able to mainstream those products. And we have been challenged in the biodiversity community in the last years for doing that, among many other reasons. Well, first, for the complexity I'm talking about, but second, also because we didn't have enough standards and enough capacity or infrastructures to be able to distribute those products. In the last 2-3 years, especially, we have seen a great advance in the development of those essential biodiversity variables workflows. For example, for measuring critical ecosystem structural attributes for characterizing biodiversity, or for modeling species populations and how those species populations change in time over a space. And even there have been some definitions or first approaches to defining even more complex aspects, like, for example, monitoring changes in the traits of a species, like, for example, monitoring changes in the size or in the ecological functions that some species play, and which is very important to understand processes that emerge at higher levels at the ecosystem level, for example. So one of those developments that complement those workflows and that try to leverage the products that the biodiversity community is developing is a platform for discovering the essential biodiversity variables. And this is one of the products that a group of scientists with other stakeholders are working within the eShape project funded by H2020, which aims to distribute, using new EBV data cube standards, those biodiversity data sets that come from integrating multiple sources of data, mostly via models. So as an example, one of the data sets that you can, this is still in beta version and is going to be launched within the eShape project before the end, I hope. One of the products you could find them there, among others, is the distribution of habitats of conservation interest for the European Union. And each of those products, you can navigate through them, not only via space and time, which is kind of the common thing among all Earth observation products, but with a particular particularity for biodiversity observations, biodiversity data, that you need to navigate through what we call ecological entities, that is, different ecosystems, different species. So how each of the species in Europe change their distributions or their abundance over time. And similarly, how ecosystems may change their distribution and their abundance over time in each of the points of the map. So for that, we have developed this platform together with a standard that is able to mobilize the data, but also to put it in a common format and a common standard to be able to operationalize this interoperability among the different products. Now, this is an approach that has been adopted in the Europa Bond, which is a network for biodiversity observation, and it's also a project funded by H2020, which is developing the data streams and the protocols for a new biodiversity monitoring center at the European level, co-designing this center together with the stakeholders. So using inputs from national administrations, regional administrations, and European, we are working on those workflows from primary data to essential biodiversity variables that can actually inform specific policies, such as, for example, Birds Directive, Habitat Directive, Water Framework Directive, and even restoration and climate European level policies. As one very quick example, we are developing products. Well, there are of course many different developments, but one is this example where we are combining observations from citizens on mushrooms in the field with radar data, radar colorimetric data, and also with vegetation indexes and other sources of Earth observations from remote sensing to be able to produce forecast systems for those mushrooms.
Now, Nestor, can you wrap it up, please?
Yeah, I will do in 2 minutes. Yeah. So finally, one of the great challenges we are trying to address also, for example, within eShape, is being able to connect among the different initiatives. So this is, for example, ELTR, which hosts 250 sites in 20 European countries, taking observations for biodiversity, but also for other important variables, environmental variables for developing the essential biodiversity variables. But also with previous projects and ongoing initiatives, which aim to identify what are the relevant observations from remote sensing for biodiversity. And one of the challenges we are addressing here is that satellites that are not designed for observing biodiversity. So we are providing information, for example, to the ESA and to other agencies about what should be the characteristics of those systems, satellite systems, that can also inform better biodiversity. So wrapping up, mobilizing in-situ observation of species and ecosystems remains challenging. Leveraging workflows integrating in-situ and remote sensing is critical to reduce information gaps. And finally, the new policy context of the Green Deal and specifically biodiversity strategy and other policies and commitments such as the European Knowledge Biodiversity Center, the new European Biodiversity Partnership enable now the intensification of those coordinated efforts toward this integrated European biodiversity monitoring.
Thank you so much. It is always a pleasure to see how, what a great example of good practice your community is, to go from observation to defining what are the key critical ones to write to application. So thank you so much for your hard work on this one. Amanda, the floor is coming to you. So Amanda Regan is the head of the PhilLab Invest Office and the program manager of the Investment in Industrial Innovation at ESA. So please tell us something about the science plan in just a minute.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, and we can see the slide if you put it in presentation.
Put it in presentation mode. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour of what we're doing at ESA, specifically the Investing in Industrial Innovation program, which I'm running, but also in context of a new lab that was opened in 2017 called the PhilLab, which I think you guys might be interested in. And we're looking for particularly opportunities for collaboration, networking, and synergies. Okay, so and this slide I kept in because it has my email address in it, so this is also useful. All right, so the Earth observation landscape as we see it at the moment is in the middle of an absolute perfect storm, which there are a lot of things that are crashing onto the Earth observation landscape right now that we didn't have 10 or even 5 years ago. We now have long-term systematic data that's coming from the Copernicus Sentinel satellite, which is enabling businesses to actually build credible business plans and long-term plans. We also have a lot of data, so we have big data and much more Earth observation data than we ever had before. Also, access to space for the space geeks out there. It's a lot easier to actually get satellites in orbit. And actually on the satellite side, the performance per cubic meter is absolutely exploding. So it means that we can do so much more with smaller satellites, which leads to an economies of scale. Now, all of this is also being augmented by the information and communication and technology sector absolutely crashing into Earth observation at the moment, with the cloud computing and the computer performance is exploding. And this is really bringing new people onto the landscape, new money, new thinking, new ways of doing things, and entrepreneurs, which we really didn't have before. The other thing as well is that there's a certain connected thinking. So it means that there is a certain leaning towards distributed systems over centralized systems. And in fact, we have a generation of people now that don't know life without the internet. So that there is a certain trust of the crowd that we didn't have 20 years ago. And so all of this is bringing a new kind of entrepreneurial spirit into the Earth observation domain. And this is why I wanted to, this is kind of what we wanted to speak about today. So what we're seeing is actually Earth observation is a moving away from the provision of images and data sets to actually intelligent decision making, and also to the point of commoditized business or scientific insights and analytics, to the actual point that the word observation is actually too passive these days, and we actually have to change our vocabulary to Earth insights or analytics or even something a little bit more active. So with that, this is why the ESA Phi Lab at ESA Esrin in Italy was created. And we are trying to accelerate the future of Earth observation. We're really focused on transformational innovation. And so this is why I wanted to speak to this audience today, because, you know, we're really looking for collaborations and partnerships. We have a pathway through our lab that starts with blue sky transformative ideas. So we're looking at things like artificial intelligence, blockchain, distributed systems, edge computing, etc. And as developments move through the lab, the ones that are commercially viable move into my area of the lab, where we actually try and foster entrepreneurial initiatives. So we have two different offices. So the research office really looks at more connecting the technology side with the digital revolution. And then the invest office, which is what I look after, is really looking at the entrepreneurial commercial side of things. And the Explore office, the research part, you can see some of the highlights here that they're looking at. So anything from artificial intelligence to quantum computing, they're basically developing use cases and prototypes. And we're also focusing on things like digital twin, for example, and analytics. So I'm running a program called the Investing in Industrial Innovation, so it's called InCubed. And this is really a program that is subscribed by 18 member states at the moment in Europe. And we help build anything along the Earth observation value chain. So we help the development of satellites that would generate new data sets and basically products and services. So anything from satellites, components, systems, subsystems, all the way down to exploitation platforms, web services, ground segments, etc. And we basically create the first minimum viable product so that companies can take their development to potential customers or potential investors, wherever they may be, to be able to show the concept. We have over 60 activities now, and our largest is a 17 million euro satellite that's being developed, and I'll talk about that briefly later. So what InCubed is really trying to do is stimulate and develop the European Earth observation commercial sector, but by doing that, we're also wanting to connect internationally as well. I thought I would include this slide just to let you know that there are opportunities to work in the lab. So if you are in a company or at an academic institute, there are opportunities to come and spend time in the lab if you want to learn more about ESA and the ESA Earth observation data sets or artificial intelligence. We have opportunities for visiting professors, research fellowships, even young graduate trainees. We have people that come for a couple of days, a couple of months. We've even had people that love it so much they stay for a couple of years. So this is possible. And as I said, we're looking for potential connections, networking, opportunities and synergies because we're a disruptive technology lab. So that means that we want people to come in. You can't just be disruptive with the same people all the time. So this is just where you can find us on the web, sorry, and also this is a highlight of the kind of things that InCubed offers. And also, I added this slide. I'm not going to go through it now, but if you're interested in more information about InCubed, our first step is that the companies come and pitch to us, which is always really cool. So some examples of some of the InCubed activities I thought would be interesting to this audience. So for example, we have an Austrian-Dutch activity called EO Plugin. This is now concluded, and this was an exploitation platform using Earth observation data to maximize the yield of potatoes to start with. And they're actually developing the service to serve the agro-food industry. And they've actually spun out a Dutch-based startup called GEO4A. And they're already generating revenue, which is great. On the right-hand side, Sat4EO, this is a satellite that will measure down to 50 centimeters. It's an optical satellite, so and this will be launched in a couple of years. So you can see that InCubed is actually building satellites, and these will be generating data streams later on, which I think will be relevant to this audience. Also, HyperScout 2 in the bottom left, this is the a miniaturized little CubeSat about this size, and this is the hyperspectral and thermal infrared imager. And also they put a little artificial intelligence chip on here as well, and this is the first ESA AI chip driven satellite that was launched. And it was launched in September last year. And then Mantis on the bottom right, this is also a satellite that is being developed specifically for the energy sector. So all of these things, I think in a couple of years will be relevant to this audience. Some other more downstream activities. So for example, we have an Irish activity called Coast.io that we actually had the final presentation yesterday, and they have developed a water quality service using Earth observation satellites, and they've developed these little yellow buoys, or if you're American, buoys, and they're already generating revenue. Top right, we have a Dutch development that is developed a toolkit to actually improve the quality of Earth observation data. This is a company called Subalt. Bottom left, we have another Irish activity where they're actually developing an optical modem which will enable better delivery or improved delivery of data. And then bottom right, we have a Belgium activity which we kicked off at the beginning of this year, run by Aerospace Lab, and they're going to be developing an optical satellite, something along the lines of Sentinel-2, but in a small satellite form. And this is the kind of performance that they're aiming for.
Amanda, can I ask you to wrap up, please?
Yes, okay. So I will skip this slide, and I think the key message is that basically we're looking for connections and networking opportunities as well as possible partnerships. And I'd like to finish here that we have the Fee Week in a couple of weeks' time. It's going to be a hybrid event, so if you're interested, please register and come and check us out. Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
You've done a fantastic job, and thank you so much for for providing such a good overview of the program.
No problem.
I might apply myself now. Now I'm again always conscious of the time, so I'll allow me to just very quickly say something about EuroGEO. I will not need to introduce myself. I hope that you can see my slides, and so I'll just say how we think that we are trying to provide support also from an infrastructural side to the work of EuroGEO. This was in a way requested to the Commission by the high-level working group at its last meeting to come up with a proposal of how somehow EuroGEO could be more supportive of European policies, supporting of the Green Deal, and in general contribute more effectively also from the basis of sharing Earth observation in Europe to the global geo. So we have looked at the general approach really to see how we can leverage the many research projects, the many operational projects that we have in Europe in order, and infrastructure, in order to cluster them. We do not need a new platform. There's so many platforms in Europe that the last thing you need is yet another one. But certainly what we do need is more integration, is more collaboration, is creating a digital ecosystem, if you want, that will leverage the national and the European activities. So we have between now and 2025, so essentially we have 3 years to work, and so we have very cleverly thought of 3 steps. The first is to obviously work on the European projects that we can already put our hands on, which of course are Copernicus and the Copernicus services, but also you have heard a lot about the need for combining Earth observation with in situ. And from the in situ point of view, of course, we have all the data that comes from INSPIRE and from the national infrastructure, the wonderful data that is provided by the European Environment Agency and the IONET. We also have the European Open Science Cloud, and they have performance computing from the infrastructural side, as well as the ES3 infrastructure. And talking not about data and infrastructure only, but thinking also that we need to share more model and knowledge. The European Commission has already a system called MIDAS, which essentially shares all the 200 plus models that the European Commission uses for environmental impact assessment, and increasingly it's becoming open to the public. So the first thing we thought is, let's try to combine all of these systems so that we can start building a digital ecosystem around those. In the second instance, we start to connect the multitude of sensors and the Internet of Things platforms that are becoming available at both national and European level, and also open up further the modeling and the MIDAS, adding the digital twins that we also heard about. ESA and ECMWF are also working on these. And the third milestone, so we are talking about sort of trying to get there before the 2025, is of course linking up the Destination Earth infrastructure and the digital twins. I'm sure you've heard about it. This is this new initiative led by the Commission and implemented by ESA, ECMWF, and UNETSAT. And of course, there are other activities that are being done. So we have sort of kind of prepared a concept paper that now sort of we'll be sharing with the representative of the high-level working group, so with the countries that are part of EuroGEO, as well as the Commission stakeholders and other broad stakeholders, and we'll see how far we are able to move along this road, and we have some dedicated investments that can support this. So that's basically how we see that we can try and structure EuroGEO also from the level of data infrastructure and models to support more effectively both research, policy, and operational activities. So I'll thank you with this. I think that obviously there will be an opportunity, and I hope I've raised enough interest that you will want to ask some questions. And of course, I will not answer them now, but I will take note of them and we can get back to you. And therefore, I'll close it here, and I will now give the floor to Isabelle Bentham from the Ministry of Higher Education and Research and Development in France, and to Philippe Tolkens of DG Research to basically come to the conclusions of the workshop. And I'll bid you goodbye, and it was lovely to be with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Max, for this enthusiastic chair this afternoon. So thank you very much. Just a few words of conclusion. First of all, I thank you for your active participation in this EuroGEO workshop, and to the team who made it possible. I think particularly to the whole teams of the ROEA, Erwin Gore, Isabella Freitag, and Gaël, and also Thierry Ranchin from Paritech. It was really interesting to cross our activities with other EuroGEO and to discuss about it. I would like to share with you some ideas. The first is that we are stronger together within GEO and within the European Union. Together we can go further in our objectives, but particularly in the fight against climate change or against natural disaster, and for the protection of biodiversity and so on. To address all these issues, we must preserve our autonomy and our sovereignty while cooperating with each other. It is a balance we have to find. We must think about this when making decisions, especially for the future of the GEOSS. I would like to thank Gilles Ollier for his commitment to EuroGEO all this year. Gilles remains connected with the Earth observation, and we are very happy about that. I hope you will continue to support EuroGEO, and I wish you the best, Gilles. And for all of you, I say see you at Geo Week. Thank you. Philippe?
Merci, Isabelle. Yeah, so thank you for inviting me to conclude this session. And despite being virtual, I see that EuroGEO has been extremely rich. I'll be quick because you must be exhausted in getting through all these presentations. If I read well, I'm the 65th speaker. It means I really should be as short as possible. Congratulations for having survived all these presentations online. But I see that there were about 100 people joining every day. That is good. It's perhaps lower than what could be expected if we see the number of registration, but we all know that online events gives the possibility of to people to also do several priorities at the same time, and this is a fact. We have all learned that during the pandemic. 100 people every day with very rich presentation is a good result. I hope that the recordings will be displayed on a website that people can consult after, because this knowledge, these good results need to be known and spread as widely as possible to the relevant people. We have, of course, missed the coffee breaks, but the workshop gave us the opportunity to catch up and learn on what is at the heart of the European environmental observation landscape. We all know that Earth observation solutions are essentials to support the European Green Deal, and therefore this has been the central theme of this year's workshop. This connection to the policy is absolutely crucial, also to remind all the policymakers that observation needs to underpin every relevant segment of the Green Deal. There's a lot to do, there's a lot to progress, and one should not assume that we know enough or that the data are good enough. They are good enough to decide, but they are not good enough to fully meet all the expectations for the implementation. Looking back at the previous days and today were some messages that I would like to reflect on, because those are also relevant for the future and the evolution of EuroGEO and for further shaping the European environmental observation ambitions. On Tuesday, for instance, we learned that users do not know what they want, but know what they don't want. That's already a progress. So how do we tackle the question of what user needs? As we are starting to draft in the European Commission, the Horizon Europe Work Programme 2023-2024, these are messages that we will take to our heart to have really the users in mind when we draft the topics. In addition, Horizon Europe mission on adaptation to climate change will offer a good test bed for solutions that are being developed through EuroGEO. I strongly invite you to read by the end of the month the communication on the missions of Horizon Europe. There will be plenty of opportunities in the area of adaptation to climate change, but also in the area of ocean and soil and even climate neutral cities. The document should come out on the 30th of September if the schedule is confirmed. Also, this Tuesday, we have seen excellent results in terms of delivering on environmental observation-based solutions. However, EuroGEO is and should be far more than that. It's about sharing experience, building on each other's results, such as the further exploitation of the results of our projects. We heard other speakers insisting on that. I would also echo their plea. On Wednesday, we have learned about new players, new actors, and new funding opportunities, and I have the good hope that these actors will be part of our established EuroGEO community at this time next year. Then, on today, the focus has been on EuroGEO evolution, where we have been part of a discussion among the regional GEO on how we can better link together and work together. Because in the end, Earth observation is exactly that, a global effort with global benefit, and this should remain. We have just concluded the interesting discussion on how to anchor EuroGEO to the GEO workshop and the global Earth observation system of systems infrastructure, GEOSS. We would, of course, welcome your input in this debate and ensure as such that EuroGEO develops as a community-driven initiative. The challenges affecting Earth observation community are well known, but the willingness to move forward is very strong. And this edition of the EuroGEO workshop has demonstrated this sufficiently in the course of the last 4 days. My text says sufficiently. I think we never demonstrate the things sufficiently. We need to do more and insist. We are now in a period where we have never been heard so well on environmental policies, and the role of observation in this chain is recognized. We need to capitalize on that and go further. Let me conclude by thanking France, in particular Isabelle Benezet and Thierry Ranchin, for hosting this year's workshop. In addition, I would like to thank our colleague in the executive agency REA, Erwin Gore, Isabella Freitag, and Gaël Le Boulet for their continuous support and dedication in organizing this workshop year after year. I should also thank the colleagues from my team, Marianne, Jean, Jan, for their dedication always, and of course Gilles Ollier, he has been mentioned already, for the dedication to this activity. So to conclude, as Nancy Vermeulen already said on the first day during her inspirational talk, the sky is not our limit anymore. She meant it literally for the future, but I think we should take it figuratively for the near future. The near future is now. With that, I wish you a good evening and hope to see you next year in a physical or in presence meeting workshop again. Thank you.
Thank you, Philippe. And let me take the chance to thank as well our speakers and chairs that have animated those last 4 days and exciting days, despite the difficulty of the virtual environment we are all operating and have unfortunately to get used to. But I really wish that next year we can come back again in a physical setting, and I wish you in the meantime a very excellent end of the afternoon, and hope that we will continue the beautiful story of EuroGEO. Thank you.